Hey, what's up? John Sonamez here from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got another review for you, a product review, this time another lock here. This one is from Igloo Home. And I've re-recorded this video because I made it too damn long. I keep making it too damn long. I'm going to give you this short story here. First of all, if you want to check out my product reviews, I don't do a lot of them, but I do some of them, and the stuff that I'm interested in, you can check out my playlist here. Second of all, why am I reviewing another lock? Well, as you know, I'm into home automation. I like the idea of not having keys. Okay, now, I had one problem with the locks I have. I have a Schlage lock on my front and garage doors, and I have a lock from Aardwolf that they sent me on my office door, which is pretty dang cool. And I do some home exchanges, right? So I had one problem though. With all those locks, they all are electronic, and they have keys as well, so you can do a manual override on them. But what happens if the lock dies, if the battery dies? And yes, there's ways to jumpstart the lock. You can use a 9-volt battery and stuff, but if I'm doing home exchanges and exchanging with people, I don't want them to have to go through that hassle. I want some way to have the physical keys, or even myself, right? I don't have to go to the hardware store if the lock battery dies or shorts or something, right? And try to get a 9-volt battery and then try to figure out how to get it up and going again, right? So I have had physical keys for these locks, and I've stored them in opposite places. So I've taken my front door lock and put it in the garage door lock and put it in the front. So I've been thinking, man, I'd like to have like a lock box or something like that. So here comes Igloo Home, okay, and they email me and they say, oh, we've got another lock. And I'm like, okay, I've done enough locks. I don't really need any locks. I don't review stuff that I'm not going to use for the most part, because it's not a review channel, right? But if it's something I'm going to use that's actually going to be valuable to me, then heck, I'm going to use it anyway. I might as well review it, right? So they said, no, we've got a lock. We've got a front door lock, which I'm sort of wishing I would have used now. But and they said we've got this lock that's this lockbox type of lock, right, where you can put your keys in there and put it outside the house. So I thought, okay, this is great. This is perfect. Exactly what I need. So that's what this lock is that I'm reviewing for you today. It's the Igloo Home lock, and this is the version of their lockbox version of the lock. What's really cool about this lock is, like I said, it serves that purpose of for a lot of you, it'd be like if you have an Airbnb, this is probably where this makes the most sense, is to use this lock in order to be able to give people access to your Airbnb. And so it's fully electronic. It's got a punch pad key that people can put in there, like for a touchpad entry, right? That's around the lock. Really easy to use, and it's a nice, heavy, sturdy lock, and it lets you put your keys in there. So for me, what I'm using it for, okay, is I'm taking my actual keys for my house and for my garage and for all the important keys that I have in the house, and I'm putting them all in here. Okay, and then this is sort of my emergency backup. I'm not utilizing this very often, but if for some reason I get locked out of the house, or I need a neighbor to be able to get into the house and I don't have access, I'm not at the house, so I can't give them a new access code, or if something malfunctions with one of my electronic locks, or I'm doing a home exchange or something like that, and I need to give someone a physical access to the house via keys, physical keys, I can do that without carrying around keys and without doing this key swapping thing and wondering where all the keys are. They're all outside the house in this lock box. So this gives me just sort of a backup option, something that's pretty cool. I'm trying to think, there might be some other uses that I might use this for in the future, but I've wanted to have something like this, and I think it's just a good idea. I mean, especially, I can think of really two good scenarios besides what I'm doing where you might want to use this. One would be if you're doing Airbnb, obviously, because they've designed this for Airbnb, so they've designed this lock so it's got very programmable options. So you can program durations for certain codes that will expire after a certain amount of time. You can do one-time use codes, right? And you can create permanent codes in here. And you can do all this remotely. This is kind of the cool thing that they've done, is they made it this remote work remotely. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then the other option I would see for this is just to have your own outside the house lockbox, right? So that you've got keys, just in general, that you might need for emergency, right? You know how you like leave the key under the mat and do all that? If you don't want to replace your home with locks, with digital locks, and there's some reasons why you might not want to do that, this is an option, right? This is something that I think is going to be useful. Just about anyone really could use this. I mean, who wouldn't want to have some keys that are outside their house, right? That they can access with an access code, or give someone access to when they need to. To me, it makes a lot of sense. So pretty cool. So let me tell you a little bit about the product itself. what the really cool distinguishing feature in my mind is that this works remotely. So what I mean by this is that I've got my Schlage locks, right, and those are great, except there's one problem, which is I can only update the settings when I'm there with my phone with Bluetooth. So if I want to add a new access code or something like that, or change access codes or disable them, I can't do that from the web, I can't do that from remotely. I have to do that when I'm standing there with Bluetooth, with the exception, and most of the home automation systems have some way, but the exception with the Schlage locks is that if I have an Apple TV connected in vicinity, then it'll work, which it doesn't work for my garage because I've got a detached garage. So I'm kind of out of luck there, and that's kind of a problem because I'd like to be able to manage the stuff remotely. Now they've done this, they've solved this with both their front door lock and the lock that I'm showing you today, which I have it outside, by the way. You can see some of the footage that I have as I was setting this up, but it's in use. That's why I have the box here that I'm standing with. So what they did was, the way that they solved this is, I'm not going to go into the technical details, but essentially they're using some strong encryption and some keys to uniquely identify every lock and to generate certain codes that exist for that lock so that you could remotely program it. So the way that this works is that there is a Bluetooth interface with this lock. Of course, you go up with your phone. There's a really slick and really easy to use smartphone app, better than the other stuff that I've seen out there. And what you do is you come up to the lock, okay, and you set up the lock initially, and you can program codes into that lock. But there's a main connection with the server that's remote that knows how to synchronize with that lock and knows what codes are available for that lock. It does some kind of mapping. I'm not sure exactly how the technology works. But the cool thing about it is that, yes, you can use your Bluetooth phone and access the lock, but you don't have to be within range. You can be completely somewhere else and use your app and just communicate with the server until the server can generate for you codes. Right now, there's one downside to this, which is that you can't, aside from your master code, you can't determine what the code's going to be, because you can say, what you can do is you can basically go into the app and you can say, hey, I want a code that will work from this duration, from this day at this time to this day at this time, and it'll give you back a code, all right? But you can't decide what that code is going to be. So that's the one disadvantage, but the huge advantage is that you can do that all remotely. So you can be deciding, if you're running an Airbnb or something like that, you can decide to create a new code, you can create a one-time code, you can create any of that stuff, and it will send you the code and tell you what it will be, and you can convey that to the person that you want to give the code to and share that to them, and they can use that all without you having to go and physically go up to the lock, which, like I said, with the Schlage locks, they're great, but the problem is that I have to go there with my phone if I want to change any of those access codes, even though I can change the code to whatever I want. And they have a mapping, they said, that they're coming out with. They might have it out by the time that I'm done with this video, where you can map and actually create your own code. But you know, for the most part, it doesn't matter, because you can create your master code, the master code that always unlocks this lock, to be whatever you want. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the features here. It's pretty simple. Pretty straightforward. That's what I like about this. This thing was not complicated to get set up. Basically, I opened up the box, pulled out the lock, threw some batteries in there, closed up the lock. It had like a default code of 1234, all right, which I could use to unlock it. And then I downloaded the app from that they have, the Igloo Home app, and it asked me to pair, and it paired so simply over Bluetooth, and then I could automatically unlock the lock if I wanted to. So let's talk about that feature real quick. So they have this feature where you can, and it actually works, which a lot of these didn't work when I tried them with other locks, is if you turn on the smart unlock on your phone, then when you're in range of the lock and you just activate the lock by putting your hand over it, it turns on the Bluetooth, which it'll check and it'll ping essentially your phone. And if the smart unlock is enabled, it'll just unlock the lock, which is pretty damn cool. I like that. Especially, I wish I had that for my front door. That's one of the reasons why I kind of wish I would have done the Igloo Home for the front door instead of the Schlage. But hey, you know, whatever. It's fine. So anyway, that's the basic setup there. You go through, and that's pretty much it. You've paired the lock. Now you can set a master code. There's a default one, but you can reset your master code, and that's the code that will always open the lock. And then what else is there with this? Let me see. So yeah, so then you can set up a one-time key if you want. That'll work just one time. You can set up a permanent keys and you can set up duration keys. So really cool lock. I like it a lot. So far I've been pretty impressed with it, and I think, I mean, it's just pretty awesome to have this security, knowing that I've got keys that are outside my house that I can access if I need to, that they're secure, and that if there's something goes wrong with a home exchange or something and my front door lock or my garage door lock dies out, that I know exactly where the keys are to the house, and I can just give someone a code and I can easily delete that code and I can manage all that remotely. So go check them out. This is, like I said, a really cool product. And Igloo Home, you know, this is obviously I have to tell you that they gave me a copy of this lock. So this is an affiliate thing, but like I said, I don't promote it unless it's useful to me. So one thing I'd say also about this, which I've got inside here, is that, so this is the Igloo Home Smart Keybox, by the way. What they've got in here also is they have some mounting screws. So if you wanted to mount this permanently, which is cool because they've provided that for you, and a little mounting back, like rubberized mounting back, that makes that real easy as well. So mine, I'm just hooking on to like a fence, so I don't need to worry about that. But if you need to mount it, this would be useful as well. So I think that's all I really got to say about that. I mean, there's not a lot more to say because the thing just works and it's simple, and I think it's pretty cool. So I'm really impressed with it, honestly. Like, a lot of times I see this home automation stuff and people haven't really thought this through, but I feel like in this case they did a really good job of thinking this through, and like I said, it's going to serve the purpose for me. I see it as just a useful thing to add to your home. All right. Hopefully you liked this video. If you did, make sure you click that subscribe button below and click the bell to make sure you don't miss any videos